The thing about shapeshifters is they're easy to spot if you pay attention. Being mere copycats of the forms they inhabit, they always get something wrong. It may be a small detail, but to the observant, it's obvious. A mole is forgotten, a peer's body part looked over. No matter how good they are, something is always forgotten. That is why, when he stumbled through the door a few hours later than normal, I knew he was not who he seemed. Gloria perked right up, though, squealed as she ran to his legs. Something inside me told me to grab her and remove her from this monster pretending to be father. Yet I was so sure that if I moved to get her that he would know his disguise had not worked and begin devouring the family early. I needed time to deal with this, so I did nothing as she squeezed his calf with her tiny arms, though I hate to admit it, this one's acting is amazing. He quickly leaned down and picked up the giggling 3-year-old and kissed her on the forehead. Nothing seemed amiss to her. You know what they say about ignorance. From the kitchen, Mom asked where he had been. She had been worried about him, but sometimes he had been late from work before. Dinner did not make itself, so she busied herself with it to keep her mind off her husband. Business with a new client. His voice was the exact same one I had heard the morning before he left for work. This one, though, he got almost everything right. I had to admit, I admired the attention to detail. Some of them were just so lazy. The salt and pepper black hair, the day's worth of stubble on the chin. Hell, they even included the odd scarring on his right ear from where an earring in his youth had been torn out. But as always, one detail is off. His eyes. This morning they had been a piercing blue, but now they were a dull gray. I doubted anyone else in the family would catch on before this creature managed to devour them all. This one must have known the eyes were a defect, as he was careful not to directly look at anybody. I myself had to catch a few glimpses of his face to notice. "Jordan, take off your hat and come to dinner." Mom did not come into the room, but raised her voice just loud enough for all of us in the room to hear. A clatter of plates and other cutlery were slightly muffled as she set the table. Okay. I took off the baseball cap and ran my hand through my light brown hair. It had become ruffled by the cap I had been wearing for a few days. Dinner was uneventful, but the creature pretending to be the family man did not eat anything. "Ate at work," was his excuse. Good one. He busied himself looking at his papers and kept any talk to a minimum. "Jordan, eat your food." Mom frowned at me as she cleaned Gloria of the mess she had made with her dinner. "Oh, sorry," I muttered, pushing the food around. I was distracted by the creature stealing furtive glances at Gloria from behind his papers. He wanted her first. I just knew it. So young, so tender. Who could pass up a meal like that? I had to act first. The question was how. How indeed. After dinner, Gloria was put to bed, Mom reading her a story before she would leave her for the night. I was left in charge of the dishes, but I left them to check on the creature parading in the skin of father. The shifter had taken up residence in the study, stating before he had left the table that he had more work to do before bed, an excuse for sure. He would most likely wait until everyone else was asleep, then slip into Gloria's room and devour her before she could scream. Then, he would make his way to each of our rooms. I shook my head. This one must be relatively young. The older ones knew how to settle into a family before you ate them all. Makes it easier to catch them off guard. I was sneaking up to the door when I heard him call for me. "Jordan, can you come in here? I would like to show you something." You could almost hear him salivating as he schemed how he was going to eat us all. Perhaps he had caught me staring at him, or perhaps he was more perceptive than I had given him credit for. Eat the one that does not trust you first. Smart. "Sure thing, Dad." I grinned. It was a trap for sure, but I would let him lure me in. There was no doubt in my mind that this thing was a shapeshifter. No doubt at all. After all, if this was really the man he was supposed to be, wouldn't he have noticed that this kid's hair was supposed to be black?